Good.
Again, super honored to have you on today. We have Rocco Sisto, legendary actor and veteran stage actor, joining us today. Soprano fans know him as Young Uncle Jr. And you were also the hitman in Carlitos Way. You were Richie Gazzo and Donnie Brasco, starring alongside Johnny Depp and Al Pacino. You've been in a ton of hit TV shows as well, like Law and Order, Star Trek, Blue Bloods. Can't begin to say how much of an honor I am to have you on today.
Oh, pleasure. Thank you, Zach. Thank you.
And this is the first time that you're actually joining our show, and I'm dying to just jump right into these movies and hit shows. But I really want to just learn kind of how it all started for you.
All right. Well, let's see. I was born in Italy and I was raised in Chicago, a real working class family. And I discovered in college that I liked to act. And it was an interesting school. It was University of Illinois in Chicago, which was a very, very inexpensive school. You know, one of those land grant universities. But it had one of the great curriculums. It had a classic curriculum. And we started working on the ancient Greeks in the English theater department and went from there. And a friend of mine had auditioned for graduate school at NYU, which at that time, it was NYU, Juilliard, and Yale were the three biggies. But NYU was very, avant-garde. They had people like, I don't know if these names mean anything, Richard Foreman and Andre Gregory, you know, from My Dinner with Andre, and he taught there. It was all there, you know, Grotowski, all these Polish refugees, actually. No, they were actually speaking and working in Poland, and so it was very avant-garde. So my family didn't want me to go, and so much so that they gave me the wrong day to audition. And so I went to the audition, and they said we were interviewing designers, and I burst into tears almost. And they said, no, we'll let you audition. So they let me audition, and I got in to NYU, and I started my real training there. Worked with my teachers were incredible. Olympia Dukakis was my mentor, and my teacher.
Legend, yeah.
Yeah, she was great. I mean, when I knew her, she was, you know, in her early 40s and, you know, putting it all together. She was raising her kids, starting a theater company. You know, her husband, Louis Zorich, was the breadwinner. He was one of these guys who had a big voice, you know. So anyway, and so that's how I started. I went from there, and then I went to audition for a bunch of movies out of school and didn't get them. And started doing regional theater, and I helped found a theater company in the Berkshires called Shakespeare and Company. Yeah. So anyway, after anyway, that's a thumbnail.
Yep. No, yeah. For those fans that aren't familiar, I'm sure they are, but with Olympia Dukakis, Look Who's Talking. You know, she was
Oh my God.
Your mother, amazing. Yeah, that's definitely
Moonstruck.
Yeah, multiple things. Someone who we just recently lost, unfortunately. Brother was also
yes. We had a memorial in Central Park at the Delacorte Theater, because the Delacorte is run by the Public Theater in New York, and she worked there all the time. In fact, one of her very first hits came out of the Public Theater, and so there was a wonderful memorial for her. We were in the rain on a couple of Sundays ago, and everybody was laughing. You know, we kept on thinking she's going, "You bunch of clowns sitting in the rain, what are you doing?" But her brother Apollo was there, and so it was great. It was a great time. And good to memorialize her and celebrate her. So she was a great lady. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know you mentioned, you know, in college, you know, you kind of started making this push, but at a younger age, were there any movies or actors that kind of inspired you?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. You know, in Chicago, they had the educational I can't remember what it was. There were 4 stations, and one was PBS. And on Sunday night, at the ungodly hour of 10:30 at night on a Sunday, they would show these films. And everybody, you know, and I was down in the basement, you know, everybody else was upstairs. sleeping, and I was in the basement with my black and white television, which was fine, because everything was black and white back then in the films. And so I'd watch these films that were just like, imagine being an 11-year-old watching Cocteau's Beauty and the Beast, which is just a seminal film, a most amazing film. And then right after that, then they had, I remember watching Charles Laughton's directorial, only film he ever directed, called Night of the Hunter, with Shelley Winters and Lillian Gish, and it's like a fantasy. It was amazing. So people like that, and then of course we'd watch all the TV shows, and I was always attracted to all of them. I was attracted to everyone from Paul Muni to Danny Kaye, from Olivier. I loved all that stuff. My sister, I just went back to Chicago, and we were talking about that, about how we absorbed the culture when we came to this country, and we spoke a dialect of Italian nobody else spoke, and we so it was very insulated, but we would always be trying to reach out. And she said, Rocky, when you watch television, you studied it. You studied the movies. And I did. I remember just seeing timing and choices of people, like the Inspector General, Danny Kaye. Remember that? Mm-hmm. I mean, when it would come on, we would just, I was amazed at it. And, that's what it did it for me. And of course, then you go to school and everyone says, oh, Olivier, look at Olivier. And you did, looked at Olivier, and then everyone, the great actors are all over the place, so that I was inspired by a lot of actors, and the culture, so that's me.
And you're also a veteran of the stage, obviously, with an extensive theater background. Now that you've done both, motion pictures and theater work for so long, do you have a preference over one or the other?
It's interesting you say that. I love doing both, and I love them both for different reasons. I love the forced intimacy that you are on a set, all of a sudden walking onto a set, and it was like and it's nerve-wracking because it's like being the new kid in school, especially if you're doing a guest shot, so or a movie set, meeting people like Al Pacino and Johnny Depp and Isabella Rossellini and Craig T. Nelson and people like of that ilk, and Sean Penn. I had to stab Sean Penn on 2 different occasions. We didn't get it right, and so month later, I had to come back and stab him all over again.
That scene was intense. I definitely want to jump into Carlitos, but that scene was amazing, where you're sitting there with the newspaper pretending like you're busy, and he's looking at you. He knows you're up to no good, and then you're just you walk up to him and he's looking at you, and it's like, man, just boom. Yeah, that was
boom. That's it. That's it. And it was funny because when we did that scene, it had a retractable knife, and on the very first take, the knife broke. And the prop master came up to me and said, "You have to save my ass." I said, "What?" He said, "You have to hold the blade so it doesn't fall out of the holder, and then let it go so it comes." And it was one of these things that you don't want to have to think about when you're stabbing Sean Penn repeatedly. But I said, "Don't worry about it. I've worked with props before. I've been on stage where props have failed big time, So we always have those stories about props failing on stage, and so I said, "Okay, listen, it's fine." But it was a great scene. I love doing it. And he said, "Stab me like you mean it." And I went, "Okay." I did twice, so it was good.
Carlitos Way is a classic. I mean, that was also with Al Pacino. And also another one of your co-stars from Sopranos, Joseph Saravo, was in it as well. Those two were going at war together.
I went and I did Sopranos, of course, with Joe.
Oh yeah,
he played, and Joe and I knew each other from many. Well, I went to NYU, and of course, 3 years later, he went to NYU. And people said, "You remind me of this guy Rocco." And so we sought each other out, and we were really good friends. He passed this past. He unfortunately died a few months ago. So it was a real loss there too, because he always had plans. We're always like, "Rock, let's do this. We're going to do some Chekhov together. We're there. Uncle Vanya, let's work on Uncle Vanya together." So those are the things that we regret. But yeah, really, it's not a good thing when those lives get. You're always thinking, "Oh, he was in his prime," and he was. And that happened with Joe. He was a great, wonderful actor. Proud to know him.
Yeah, I mean, it was super sad losing him. I was, just recently. It was a few months ago, and fairly young.
Yeah.
And just had an extensive, just all the motion pictures and credits that he did, and the chemistry that you guys had in The Sopranos as young Junior and young Johnny.
Johnny, it's great.
It's because of you guys.
Yeah, we had a great time. Joe was a showboat, and we had all that training at NYU. We had stage combat, throwing punches at each other, stabbing each other, broadswords and axes and clubs, and I don't know if you remember. There's a scene where he's reprimanding the butcher.
Oh yeah.
And he goes into the butcher shop, and he's having that conversation with him, and we're rehearsing the scene, and he said, "Hey, I'm trained. I'm trained in stage combat, and when we do the scene, I'm going to swing, but I know how to not hit you, And the guy goes, "Sure, fine. Rolling, wow, and he put his face on the other side, and I went, whoa." I thought he knocked him out, but the guy was great. He was fine about it. Joe apologized, but it was one of those moments when you think, whoa. So that reaction on that scene is true. We're up there actually going, whoa.
That was one of the
most brutal
scenes. Yeah.
What?
That was one of the most brutal scenes on the show. I remember that scene. Young Tony looking at him, and then he yells at him, "I told you to wait in the car."
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was an excellent.
I loved working on. The first time we worked on that was the first season, and it was all the guys I had worked with, and like in Donnie Brasco, and Tony Lip, and Tony Sirico, and these guys that I knew from the neighborhood, and they used to laugh at me, and they go, "Hey, Rock, you're the thespian. Come here," because I worked on stage a lot, and we were friendly, and so we, I got to the set that day, and we shot in Staten Island the very first episode that I was in, and it was everything was very sort of everything's fine. Come on over, Second season, I was invited to come back again, and we had like a locked set. We had everything was like we had security because it had blown up, the series, and so they already had people, trying to get onto the set and all that stuff already. It was amazing how that progressed from, "Hey, how you doing?" to, "All right, you're escorted to the set and escorted back." Okay, that's fine. Well, what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
wild stuff.
Yeah, it was so quick. I mean, obviously the first season, I mean, no one, really knew about The Sopranos, and the show just really catapulted. Even the folks, from what I hear from interviews, like in the ones that auditioned and made it to the show, they didn't think it was going to be what it ended up being in the beginning. And and then with your role, obviously you play the young Uncle Junior. Dominic Chianese plays the older Uncle Junior. And so how does that work? Do they cast one individual and then try to make one person? Because your mannerisms were identical. It was perfect.
It was funny, it's funny you say that. Dominic and I have known each other. I haven't seen him in years, but back in the day, we were always playing father, son, uncle, brother. We were doing that all the time. In play readings, we'd come to and do a play reading, and so we were friends, and so I don't know if it was just natural, whatever it was that we were doing to each other. And when we got the audition, I was trying to, figure out what to do. And Dominic Chianese Jr. auditioned. He was right in front of me.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But Dominic Chianese Jr. takes after his mother. He's blonde and blue-eyed.
Yeah.
So that was easier. That was a little bit easier. But when I auditioned for it, I did my brother. My brother came to this country, never learned. He always sounds like he's from the neighborhood, no matter what. And my first line, I think, was, "Hey, Tom, did you see the game last night? Joe Pepitone, 3 RBIs." And I remember, because my brother still can't say 3. It's always 3. Yeah, 3 RBIs, a triple, 3 RBIs, a triple play. Yeah, why not? And so, and I did that. And I think that's what sealed it. But I love doing it. I love playing that character because, I know that guy. I know that guy. I know what he's about. And the clothes from the 60s and 70s, they're hilarious. It's like when we did Donnie Brasco. It's like, hey, wait a minute. I think I got this suit at home from 1976, stuck in the closet somewhere.
Yeah, I actually had the privilege of meeting Dominic Chianese at this past MovieJunk. So I actually had to see him, and obviously many of the Sopranos cast. I never thought that in my life I'd get a chance to see Johnny Ola. I mean, that's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Getting to see him. So yeah, I mean, he looks great. Oh, yeah, it was tremendous to seeing him there. It was great.
That's right. That scene, wow, in Godfather. My God, Johnny Ola. Mm.
So your role is now going to be taken over by Corey Stoll in The Many Saints of Newark. And yeah. I was, this is before, even the casting took place. I was just like, man, like you did such a good job. I feel like your role is a little bit harder to pinpoint versus the Johnny Boy role, because I think you can find someone that looks like that. Uncle Junior is a little more distinct looking. And seeing the trailer, kind of what are your thoughts of The Many Saints of Newark so far?
I'm excited for it. I know I did a play, A Month in the Country, years ago, Turgenev play, believe it or not, with Helen Mirren and the star of the movie,
John Berthal,
Alessandro Nivola. Yeah, and he had just come out of Yale, and he was just, I looked at him and I said, "You're just, you're going to be a movie star," to him. And I was right. He became and he was trained in England and can do all these voices. And, he does an English accent and Italian accents. And so he's really, really well trained. And so I think it's exciting for them. And I did a reading on New Year's Day a couple of years ago. And this guy came up to me, "You're Rocco Sisto." And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "We have something in common." And I said, "What?" He said, "I'm playing Uncle Junior."
Wow.
So it was Corey Stoll. So it was nice. It was nice. He's a nice guy. So, I was happy to pass the torch. It was good. I hope it works. I hope. And the boy, what's his name? Michael.
Michael Gandolfini.
Yeah. I mean, that's shouldering some work. I hear it's great. So let's hope it all works.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, Alessandro is unbelievable. I liked him in I think it was the Wizard of Lies movie. It was an HBO movie with Robert De Niro also starring. He was great in it. And just seeing him in the trailer, man, he seems to embody the Dickie Moltisanti role. And Corey was awesome. He was in House of Cards. He was in the Whitey Bulger movie. So definitely.
Yeah.
And Michael just has those mannerisms as well. Like when you see him in the trailer, he goes, "What'd you say?" Yeah. Kind of sounds like his dad.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, that's what he got. No, he's good. It's right.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was just, it's a nice convergence when that can happen, when somebody can embody someone like that, playing someone at a younger age. It's like what's happening with Val Kilmer, with his son narrating that film, that documentary. I haven't seen it. I hear it's spectacular. The Val Kilmer documentary.
Yep.
And about him, and and his son is narrating it, who sounds a lot like him. So it's very interesting.
It was freaky.
No,
Yeah,
I worked with.
trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
Say that again.
Hearing the trailer, the Val Kilmer documentary,
Yeah.
and Young, it's
Yeah.
like you're hearing a ghost almost. But I watched it; it was unbelievable.
Yeah, I did a play with Val too. It was a post-Shakespearean play called "'Tis Pity She's a Whore." Do you know that play? It's an amazing play. It has everything in it: sex, violence, incest, everything. It's just hilarious. With all of the and Val was great. You know, he's another one that, you know, he has chops. You know, at that point he was the youngest person ever admitted into Juilliard.
Wow.
Back in the day, he was 17 when he went to Juilliard, and it's there. You know, he's really, really talented man. You know, I hope he beats this thing. You know?
Yeah, no, I toss back between kind of what's my favorite Val Kilmer movie. I mean, it's hard to argue. I mean, he's done a bunch of amazing stuff, but he's so good in Heat. He's unbelievable in
Yeah.
And he also just made, I think it's called The Birthday Cake. There's a lot of Sopranos cast in there. Just came out not too long ago. He was in the.
I don't know that.
So yeah.
But what about what is it? The shootout, the OK Corral.
Oh, the cowboy movie.
Yeah, God, he was incredible in that too. Jesus, he doesn't do bad films. You know, I mean, he's always that one with Brando I heard was pretty tough. And that was a tough film, but there are a lot of stories from the set about that one. But things happen. Who knows? You know.
I'm sure I'm gonna switch a few more Donnie Brasco questions. One of my all-time favorite mom movies as well. Another actor who I had a chance to interview, Robert Miano, who played Sonny Red. He was also at. He was also at MovieJunk too. So yeah, it was nice.
He was also what?
He was also at the MovieJunk as well.
Cool.
So that was really nice seeing him. Michael Madsen, who was Sonny Black, was also there too. So I mean, you had some really, really intense scenes, obviously, with Johnny Depp, Al Pacino, even that jail scene with Michael Madsen. He's just looking at you like he wants to rip you apart. What was like working on that set?
It was one of those times in my life where I started being treated like my character, which kind of was upsetting because the character was a real fuck up. You know, he was a real, and so it was very interesting. And Mike Newell, who's an amazing director, and Al Pacino. I don't even know if they knew they did it, but they would ask me questions because they knew. In fact, I had to leave the set a lot of times to go do a off-Broadway play. I was doing a play in Uptown, and I had a hard day. I had to get out by 7 to make the 7:30 half hour to make the 8 o'clock curtain, and so I was always like that. And so having such low status on a movie set because of how the character was. Everybody was in their character, so there wasn't a lot of playing and talking like that. Everybody was doing their character, and it was hitting me hard because I felt like the middle child of a big family, which I'm from, and Mike Newell would say things like, Rocco, when you played Malvolio in 12th Night, how did you approach that one scene? And he would talk about some stuff, and I would talk about Shakespeare with him, and the other actors would like, oh, all right, and so it softened it so that I felt safe, they felt safe, and that I love that scene with Michael because it was tense. It was a very, very tense scene, and I had to get out of there really fast. and do my other show. So it was wonderful. I love doing it. It's a family, and you work it all out one way or another. Is that too much information? I don't know.
No. It's perfect because with your role, because you play Richie Gazzo, but you're playing a dual role. You're playing the wise guy and also the FBI agent. And also, both your characters were, I mean, Donnie Brasco obviously is a real character, but there was also a second FBI agent. So your character was also based on a real life character as well. Was it
Yeah.
for you, you know, kind of playing, you know, dual roles? And
I love doing it.
You did
I loved it. Yeah, I love doing it. It was one of those moments when you, like Johnny Depp, you know, to a much lesser extent, but to assume a character like that, you know, to assume this sort of, hey, how are you, you know, and then playing a guy with an agenda like a low rent wannabe, playing, you know, FBI agent, playing that kind of character. I thought was really exciting for me, you know, and then, you know, it's nice. I loved it. There was nothing when you have, because you put a little bit of complexity, you know, to it, and that's what you want in a character role, you know, obviously.
Yeah, this is just probably more of a personal question for me. I'm just such a fan of Johnny Depp. Kind of what's he like offset, or maybe even kind of before you guys get into the scene, kind of preparing for the scene? What's it like being with him?
It's fine. He's a great actor. He's really controlled, concentrated, on top of it, playful, generous. I mean, it was that was it. Same thing with Al.
Yeah.
You know, Al was like that, you know, and I would swap stories with Al because you know, he's a god of mine, you know, and Johnny Depp I didn't know. I mean, I knew of him, and you know, Edward Scissorhand and all that stuff, but as far as him doing that character, it was really wonderful. He had it, you know, it was at ease. He wasn't forced. He sat in it, which is the best thing. You could see that he was in control, and I learned from him. I learned about, you know, concentration and stillness. It was really, and same thing with Al. But yeah, he's a great guy. No complaints at all. In fact, I'd love to work with him again someday, if he remembers me.
No, I'm sure he does. But one thing that I remembered with Johnny Depp's performance is that his Italian accent and just overall demeanor kind of grew as the movie went on. I don't know if that was intentional, or because the character obviously is becoming more of a wise guy, but I don't know if it was intentional or just brilliant acting.
I think the reticence you saw was a character development from trying to ingratiate himself into Al's character, you know, and then how remember how his status grew, and so the bravura and the weight that he had grew, I think, as the status grew.
Yeah.
And it was willful, you know. I don't think it was an accident that the script called for that he was a little more assertive, and especially when, you know, when he's almost in a situation of having to do something really illegal, you know, like participate in a murder, that he was able to really call upon that. It's brilliant stuff. Brilliant acting.
Yeah, I know that scene with his wife at the very end when he's trying to get the bag and he's like, I can't breathe. You know what I mean? Like, it was so good. And I put it up there as one of the top not even just mob films, like one of the top films of all times. And all your performances were great.
Well, Al, like, I don't know, Al wasn't nominated, which I thought was really stupid, because there's that scene at the end. I don't know if we, not an Al scene, where he takes out all of his money and ring and the money and the, you know, he knows, you know, pure. It was just so simple and pure. And then when you're, you know, the scene when he starts it, you don't know what he's doing, and then you think, oh, he knows. You know, he knows this is happening. Yeah. You know, it's just brilliant work.
Unbelievable. And I know
I was going to say that one of the things that at NYU we were allowed to go see plays and rehearsal at the public theater, and I saw Al and John Cazale do a play together called The Local Stigmatic. I don't think there was ever a public performance of it. They worked on it for years, and seeing those two actors on stage work together, and then a couple of years later, I saw John Cazale in Central Park play. You talk about actors that have affected me. He played Angelo in Measure for Measure, opposite an unknown actress from Yale named Meryl Streep, I think her name is, and Sam Waterston was in it, and he shocked me. I mean, John Cazale shocked me. That character, what he did, it's a part of a, he's sort of a preacher, supposedly a very pure law-abiding member of the court, who, when power is given to him, turns into the most avaricious being, lustful, and he makes a pass at a nun, saying either you have to give it up or your brother dies. But when he's having this conversation with Meryl, and she's in full habit, you only saw her face and her hands, everything else is a nun, and up until then was just like an angel. And John Cazale came up from behind her and grabbed her around her breast and between her legs, and he was saying these lines in Shakespeare, in the scene. No improvisation, all I am contempt, It was one of the most shocking, explicit, titillating, obscene, brilliant scenes I'd ever seen in my life, because of this, the audacity of what he was doing. And then you realize that's exactly what Shakespeare wanted. And I vowed years later, if I ever did that part, I would do exactly the same thing. And years later, I got to do that part, and I did exactly the same thing. And they said, "Do you know what to do at this moment?" I said, "Exactly. I'm going to do exactly this moment," like that, with Sam Waterston's daughter, actually, Liz Waterston. So it was nice. It was fun. Big circle closed.
It's amazing how it comes full circle like that. And yeah, another actor that we lost way too soon. Man, who knows the performances that we would have gotten, from the 80s and 90s until now. Unbelievable actor, John Cazale. I don't think they knew quite what they were working with in the first Godfather movie until he started getting his scenes, and that's where he got a bigger part because of how well he did in Godfather 2.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, no, there was just those it's brilliant. I mean, there's nothing, and he worked hard at it. He was also another circle being turned is that Olympia and he were classmates.
Wow.
At Boston University and worked together, and their teacher was Peter Cass, who was also a teacher of. If you saw that thing with that documentary with Val, Peter is the acting teacher that Al is working with, and he was, so there's very small family, of people that know. You walk onto a set and it's like, do you know? Oh, I know. And did you work with him? Yeah, I worked with her. And this is great. And it's a very small type family. And, it's great. It's funny when those things happen. When you're on a set, Star Trek set, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I played that part. You did that? Oh, I did that. What'd you do? Oh, how'd you do that? It's the camaraderie of it. Anyway.
I know Al Pacino just recently started doing more theater work. Are there any plans for you guys to do some collaboration?
I'd love to. I don't know. Is he going back? I saw him do Pavel Hummel back in the day. Richard III, he did on stage. I don't know what he's going to do. If he does something, I'd love to be in it. I'd love to see it. I'd love to be in it. He's a wonderful guy. He's a wonderful guy.
That's
Yeah.
amazing to hear, because sometimes, when you see, actors and then they might be different from who they are in real life. And every time I do an interview or hear interviews about Al Pacino, I'll hear nothing but wonderful things about him, which is great to hear.
It's generous. He's just a generous guy, and it's all it's like our very first scene together was when I drive up in the Firebird and with the music blaring, and the director had told me, yeah, we had rehearsed it one way, and the director told me, Michael said, next when we do the take, I want you to go faster and slow and stop closer to him. And I was like, but it's Al Pacino. He goes, no, you'll be fine. You know what you're doing. And so I did. I came around the corner and I slammed on the brakes and I stopped like about that far from him. And I came out and you just, the way he looked at me was perfect. It was like, who is this asshole? Who is this jerk? Which is perfect. It was exactly the way it was supposed to be. But I thought, oh God, I'm thinking, I'm going to kill Al Pacino. I know it. I'm going to name him. Oh, Jesus. No. But I didn't. So it was fun.
There he goes. Donnie, tell him to wait outside.
Yeah, exactly. What do you do? Say something about your wife? No, tell him to wait outside. He didn't know the protocol, which is exactly right. You don't do that. You don't do that.
And Rocco, you've played, multiple roles, both, like I said, in theater and in film. Is there one role that's kind of close to actually Rocco? Have you played anyone that kind of simulates yourself, or is every character that you play unique?
I think most of it is unique. I played Richard II, which I loved doing, and there was a lot of him and me and him. I love that. But I've also played the Marquis de Sade, and I love that too. I did a play called Quills. In fact, I originated the role. Funny story. I was working on Mildred Pierce with Kate Winslet, and I said, you and I have something in common. And she said, oh, do we have the same birthday? And I said, no. I said, I originated a role that was made into a film you were in. She goes, oh, what's that? And I said, Quills. And she said, no, you didn't.
She didn't believe you.
I said, she didn't believe me. She thought it, and I said, no, I originated the role. I got the Obie Award for it. And I tried very hard to get the film, but Mr. Rush did it for me, so it was nice. But it was funny. No, you didn't. No.
Was there
another circle?
Was there any advice that you were given at a young age that you most used throughout your career? Was there something that, whether it was Olympia or someone that you worked with, that said, "Hey,
oh God, yeah, no,
that you still today"?
Olympia was really the Peter Cass, her teacher and my teacher in Olympia. Well, I had Olympia for 3 years at NYU, and she almost threw me out of school. And I asked why, and she said, because you're adequate. And I said, well, I don't understand. In comparison, and she blew up. She said, what are you talking about? Are you going to take all these guys to every audition you ever go to and say, I'm better than him, but not as good as him? And she said, you have to claim who you are. You have to claim who you are. And she made me do that. She made me claim the way I look, the way my ethnicity, the fact that I'm educated, and the fact that I can play one of those one of the guys from the block, but I can also do Shakespeare. And so Olympia, she was always she was adamant about making sure that you knew that you were enough. Not that, and that it wasn't that you had to put something on, it was that you had to give it up. You had to show that part of yourself. If it's, you know, a Shakespearean role or Chekhov or, Donnie Brasco or, Vulcan, that it's something inside of you. That's that, and it's organic. You don't have to put it on,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I like that. That's what, and I always wrestle it because as you get older, you change, and so you have to say, okay, now this is what I look like. This is my hair. This is my face, and now this is. So people are be saying that those are the roles that you're going to play. It's like, okay, I understand that, but it's me playing these roles.
Yeah.
It's not a generic me, and that and Olympia was adamant about that because she was so singular. She was such a presence that no one could, and she never tried to be anyone else except herself, and I try to do that. Anytime I've ever tried not doing that, I've screwed myself up.
Wow.
I've blown parts. I've blown auditions, thinking, that I wanted to be someone. You asked about something just popped into my mind. I did Salieri in Amadeus on Broadway, and Olympia saw that, and she came and she said, "I saw you and I heard you." And that was the greatest compliment no one had ever, and anyone had ever given. No one had ever said anything like that to me. I saw you and I heard you, and it's a great role, and it made sense. It made sense, and yeah. So
Is
to be
is
seen and heard.
is a part of her kind of still in you? So, for example, if like an advice that you'd want to give to an up and coming actor or writer, do you kind of see yourself kind of giving the same type of advice or anything you would do differently?
Well, she and I taught together. We team taught at Columbia and at NYU, and so yeah. As a matter of fact, a lot of her teaching methods were incorporated into the theater company, the Shakespeare company that that we founded up here. I'm in Massachusetts, by the way, at the moment, up here in Lenox, Massachusetts, and and she would always say the word is enough. What as long as you are in alignment what the word is, then that's enough. It's just you and the word. It's you, and in Shakespeare, it's you and the text. And that's what when I work with actors, and all my training has been about that. I worked with. I remember trying to do a Shakespearean sonnet with an English accent, and I got a chair thrown at me. It's like, no, that's not you. Why are you pretending to be someone else? Speak like yourself. You speak English perfectly well, and you're probably speaking it closer to what Shakespeare sounded like anyway. So why don't you try it that way? And that sticks with me, that, and actors are always more than what they seem. And if we get aligned with a role, that's fine, but there's something else there, And for me, I've always tried to do that. I've always, I play simple-minded characters. I play, comic characters. I do, new avant-garde stuff, but it's me there. I'm working on it, and so, and the method is the same. You just put yourself there, and here we are with these words, and what are we going to do with it? And you just told me to move here, and okay, I'll move there, but now I have to figure out why, and it's my job, I try to do my job as best I can, which is the way Hollywood works these days, right? You come on set and you have to do your job. I remember doing that Star Trek, and I hadn't done one of them in a while, and the director took me by, sewing the costume on. Literally, they're still sewing the costume on me. I'm all in makeup, and the guy takes me by, and he goes, "All right, Rocco, now you come in there, and you say the line there, and then you move there, and then we'll cut." I was like, okay, thinking that we were going to rehearse. It's like, no, rolling. It's like, okay, now you have to do it like that. And if being prepared now is very, very important, because you just have to come and do it. It's not like a play where you can investigate it. You have to come in. And now with this, with Zoom auditions, it's a whole new ball of wax. Everybody's, it's a whole, you're self-taping and editing and getting readers with you, and, you're producing it, lighting it, trying to figure it all out. And so, and that's the new normal. I don't think it's going to go away.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine it's more competitive nowadays, because now everyone can just go on Zoom and maybe send an audition tape. So I think there's more actors, writers, aspiring directors that come out of the woodworks because of technology. So
and it's it's debilitating, because it's I can show you the amount of reels that I have, auditions, dozens and dozens of self-tapes that you send out, and well, they're gone. You just have to keep on praying that you get another one and that somebody likes something that you do. But oftentimes it doesn't work that way. Oftentimes it's you have to just keep plugging away and hope for the best, as always.
And I also always like to kind of find out, kind of what TV shows are you guys binge watching? Like, what do the actors watch? Is there anything that you're binge watching when you're not
watching?
You could sit back, and what are you binge watching nowadays?
What am I binge watching? I'm going back and watching old westerns. I'm watching Gunsmoke. I'm watching Wanted Dead or Alive. I'm watching all the 50s, because it's all, they're all, great actors. What is it? Track Down with Robert Culp. He did that for like 3 seasons. And Half Rifleman. I'm watching all of those now, and the new stuff. I'm Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso is just that I just died watching that. That was just, it's like I want to be on that show. When you went, I want to be on that show. I think that show's amazing, and so that's what I'm watching these days, and a lot of YouTube about fixing my house, plumbing.
Yeah, we're all
plumbing and waterproofing my basement.
Yeah. I mean, you still look amazing. I mean, I love seeing you in these types of mob roles. I hope we could see more of them.
Oh man, I love doing them.
You do such a good job.
Well, I just I auditioned for one, but it was not. It wasn't the role for me. I loved it. He's a great character, and he's based on he is a real character. It's like no, it's like Chaz Palminteri should play this part, but I think Chaz is doing other stuff.
Are there any projects that you are able to share that are up and coming?
Let's see. I'm working with a wonderful guy by the name of Mike Cuomo, and he actually is a distant relative. He's the poor Cuomos from Maryland, but so he has nothing. But I'm working with. He's a writer director, and I've done a few things with him, and we're developing something together, which is really nice. Yeah, like I say, it's sort of like a death of a salesman. We don't know yet. I'm still waiting for that, and I'm working with the Italian consulate. It's not film work, but so I was doing Pirandello with them. So I'm part of a theater company there doing that. And what else am I doing? I feel like I'm always running around doing stuff. I'm working on who Len Jenkin is? Len Jenkin, wonderful playwright.
Very familiar.
Yeah. And he's done film and television, wonderful screenwriter. And so I'm working on a podcast of his called Stella Maris. So it's a play that he's adapted into you can still get it. You can get it at moonglowtheater.com. And so I play, and it's about making a film, oddly enough. So it's quite wonderful. So I've been doing that, and that's what's happening with me.
Excellent. I'd love to see that, and I always try to stay educated. I'm also an aspiring screenwriter, and write stuff, and hopefully maybe one day I can have you star in it. That'd be awesome.
Oh,
and
I'll cook you a dinner.
Be perfect. That'd be perfect. So
I'll cook you a dinner.
Yeah, any plays that you'd recommend, I'd love to see if I can read them or see them. Your addiction to theater. So
Yeah, no. Well, I haven't seen. Oh, I'll tell you what I did see. Well, amazing piece of theater, and it should be. Do you know the actress Harriet Harris? Harriet Harris won the Tony Award a couple of years ago. She's been around. She's like me. She's been around for 100 years. She just did a one-person show about Eleanor Roosevelt, which I just saw. It's called Eleanor, and Mark Saint Germain, the playwright screenwriter, he wrote it, and that's an amazing piece. That's an amazing piece of theater that I just saw. So we're going back. We're going back into the theater, which is nice. Let's hope it doesn't stop. That's all.
Excellent. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I just came from I live in the West Coast. I just came from New York, and yeah, I know things like Broadway kind of keep New York City kind of running. So yeah, definitely being able to.
Yeah, it's scary.
So
scary now. With the new variant and the new variant.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that's the new normal. We have to really figure out how to work with it. And we will. It'll change us, but we'll survive one way or another, and we'll figure it out. We'll do it.
Absolutely.
It's great that.
Yeah. No, definitely. And Rocco, I want to be respectful of your time. I can pick your brain for hours. I never thought that one day we'd be sitting and getting a chance to meet and just kind of picking your brain.
Oh no, thank you.
Wonderful
Thank
roles.
you.
A tremendous honor to
pleasure.
have you on, and loved all your performances, and can't wait to see your work for many years to come.
Oh well, thank you. Hopefully it'll be with you.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Make that circle smaller.
Absolutely. I'm
great.
going to take you up on it, and again, just want to thank you again, and hopefully we stay in touch and we can do this again sometime.
Definitely. I'm at your call. All right, buddy.
Thank you very much. You take care.
You take. Bye-bye.